You settle into stillness, and for a moment, nothing seems to happen. Your breath moves in and out, familiar and automatic. Your body rests exactly where it is, warm, quiet, whole. But beneath this calm surface, an entire universe is already awake. You are not alone inside yourself. You never have been. Within you lives a vast community of tiny beings more numerous than the stars you have ever seen. They move without sound or intention you can hear, yet their presence shapes nearly everything you feel. They help turn food into energy, guide your immune defenses, and even influence how calm or restless your mind becomes at night. They live in your gut, on your skin, along your breath, and in the hidden folds of your body where light never reaches. Science calls this collective the microbiome. But tonight, you do not need the word. You only need the feeling that your body is not a machine, not a single voice, but a living landscape. As you breathe, oxygen drifts inward. As you exhale, carbon dioxide slips back into the dark. Between these two movements, countless microbial lives respond, adjusting, adapting, thriving. Your breath is not just for you. It is a shared rhythm. For most of human history, none of this was known. Doctors, philosophers, and poets believed the body was a closed system, sealed and separate from the world. Only recently have we learned that you are more like a coral reef than a solitary creature built not by one architect, but by many lives working together over time. Your body contains roughly as many microbial cells as human ones. This is not an invasion. It is a partnership older than memory. Some of these microbes help break down fibers your own cells cannot digest. Others train your immune system, teaching it the difference between danger and safety. Still others produce molecules that drift through your bloodstream and whisper softly to your brain. They do not speak in words, but in chemistry, timing, and balance. You may never feel them directly, yet they are always responding to you. When you are stressed, they sense the shift. When you rest, they settle. When you eat, they gather like listeners at a quiet concert. The idea can feel overwhelming at first, trillions of lives inside one body. But as you rest with it, the thought softens. This inner universe is not chaotic. It is patterned, adaptive, and deeply familiar with you. Every person carries a microbiome that is as unique as a fingerprint. No two are exactly alike. Your internal ecosystem reflects your early life, your environment, your habits, and your history. It remembers where you have been in ways your conscious mind cannot. In this sense, your body is an archive. Not just of experiences, but of relationships. Microbes arrive early in life, during birth and first contact. They settle gently, finding niches where they can live without harm. Over time, they form communities, some thriving in oxygen-rich spaces, others preferring darkness and stillness. Each finds its place. You do not need to manage them consciously. Your body already knows how to host life. As you lie here, gravity holds you. Your heart continues its steady work. Your digestion slows, then continues, slow and patient. Inside, microbial populations rise and fall like tides. Some grow more active at night. Others rest, waiting for morning. This daily rhythm is ancient. Long before clocks or schedules, life learned to move with cycles of light and dark. Your microbiome still follows these cues, responding to hormones, temperature, and time. You are not separate from nature. Nature is folded into you. The same processes that shape forests and oceans, balance, diversity, cooperation, also shape your inner world. When many different species coexist, ecosystems tend to be more resilient. When variety fades, systems become fragile. Your body reflects this truth quietly, without judgment. Understanding this does not require action tonight. There is nothing you need to fix, optimize, or improve. This moment is only about noticing. You are a shared space. A home. For many people, health is imagined as control, commanding the body to behave, suppressing symptoms, overriding discomfort. But the microbiome suggests another model entirely. Health emerges from relationship, not dominance. From listening rather than forcing. Your microbes do not ask for perfection. They respond to patterns over time, what repeats, what rests, what changes slowly. This makes the idea of wellness feel gentler. Less like a goal. More like a conversation. As your thoughts slow, you may notice a subtle sense of connection. Not to something distant or abstract, but to the life quietly supporting you from within. Every cell, human and microbial, participates in this shared moment of rest. You do not need to know their names. You do not need to track their numbers. Their work continues whether you think about them or not. Still, awareness changes the tone of the relationship. When you know you are not alone, loneliness softens. When you know your body is an ecosystem, self-criticism loosens its grip. You are not failing when you feel tired. You are not broken when you need rest. You are responding as a complex living system does, adjusting, recalibrating, conserving energy. This understanding can feel like relief spreading slowly through the body. A permission to soften. As the night deepens, your inner universe remains awake in its own quiet way. Microbes divide, digest, repair, and communicate. They do not rush. They follow rhythms shaped by millions of years of cooperation. Soon, you will begin to meet them more closely. Not as an abstract idea, but as neighbors, distinct, varied, and familiar. For now, you simply rest with the knowledge that your body is not singular, but shared. And as sleep approaches, you may wonder who exactly these invisible companions are, and how they came to know you so well. You remain still, carrying the quiet awareness from before. The idea of an inner universe no longer feels abstract. It feels inhabited. Now, gently, you move closer. Not with curiosity that demands answers, but with the calm interest of meeting neighbors you have lived beside for years without learning their names. These invisible companions are small beyond imagination. Thousands could fit across the width of a single human hair. Yet together, they form communities as complex as any city, each member responding to the presence of the others. They are bacteria, fungi, archaea, and microscopic organisms that science continues to discover. They live on your skin, lining your mouth, traveling your digestive tract, resting in warm, moist places where the body meets the world. They do not float randomly. They settle with intention shaped by chemistry and time. Some prefer oxygen, others avoid it entirely. Some thrive in acidity, others in calm neutrality. Each finds a niche where survival feels effortless. For a long time, humans believed these microbes were enemies. invisible threats waiting to cause harm. And some can, under certain conditions. But most are not here to hurt you. They are here because your body is a good place to live. You offer warmth. You offer nutrients. You offer shelter. In return, they offer services so subtle you rarely notice them. They break down food you cannot digest on your own. They create vitamins your cells quietly absorb. They compete with harmful microbes, taking up space so others cannot easily invade. This is not altruism. It is cooperation born of shared survival. Your relationship with these microbes is ancient. Long before humans stood upright, single-celled organisms were shaping Earth's atmosphere. When complex life emerged, it did so alongside microbes, not apart from them. Every step forward was shared. So when you meet your invisible neighbors, you are meeting ancestors as much as companions. Each microbial species carries its own preferences, its own pace. Some divide rapidly, responding quickly to change. Others grow slowly, favoring stability over speed. Together, they create balance through diversity. You can imagine them now as a quiet crowd moving through familiar spaces. Not chaotic. Not silent either. They communicate constantly through chemical signals, sensing population density, resource availability, and environmental shifts. This communication is called quorum sensing. It allows microbes to act collectively, like a murmured agreement rather than a shouted command. When numbers rise, behavior changes. When resources thin, activity slows. Your body listens to these signals too, even if you are not aware of it. On your skin, microbes form protective layers that help regulate inflammation. They teach your immune system what belongs and what does not. Without them, your defenses would overreact, mistaking harmless contact for danger. Inside your gut, microbes live in layered communities along the intestinal walls. They harvest energy from complex carbohydrates, turning fiber into short-chain fatty acids that nourish your cells. These molecules help maintain the gut lining, keeping it strong and flexible. Some microbes even produce neurotransmitters or influence their availability. Serotonin, often called a mood molecule, is largely produced in the gut. Its presence affects not just digestion, but emotional tone. This does not mean microbes control your feelings. It means your emotional world is shaped by many contributors, working quietly together. As you rest, your immune system and microbiome remain in constant dialogue. Immune cells sample microbial signals, learning when to act and when to stay calm. Tolerance develops through repeated peaceful contact. This is how familiarity forms. Not through sameness, but through repeated coexistence. Each person's microbial neighbors are different. Your microbiome reflects where you were born, how you were fed, the environments you moved through, the foods you ate repeatedly. It remembers seasons of abundance and scarcity. Even siblings raised together do not share identical microbial communities. Small differences in experience create diverging ecosystems over time. There is something comforting in this individuality. It means there is no single ideal microbiome to achieve. There is only the one that has grown with you. When you imagine meeting your invisible neighbors, you do not need to picture anything dramatic. Think instead of familiarity. Of lives that recognize your rhythms as well as you do. They notice when you sleep late. They respond when you change routines. They adapt slowly when patterns shift. They do not expect consistency. They respond to averages, to trends over time. This makes the body feel forgiving. Modern life often teaches you to think in terms of control. Control your diet. Control your stress. Control your health. But microbes thrive not under control, but under relationship. They respond best to environments that change gently, not abruptly. To nourishment that arrives regularly, not perfectly. To hosts that rest as well as strive. As you lie here, your invisible neighbors continue their work without interruption. They do not know your worries. They do not judge your choices. They simply respond to conditions as they are. This neutrality is a kind of kindness. The more you learn about them, the less mysterious they feel. They are not hidden puppeteers or lurking threats. They are residents, adapted to life with you. Soon, you will explore one of their most important homes more closely. A place where diversity matters deeply, and nourishment takes on new meaning. For now, you rest with the image of quiet companionship. Lives unfolding alongside yours, unseen but present, preparing the ground for what comes next. You drift deeper now, into a place few people imagine clearly. Not upward toward thought, but downward, into the long, winding space of your gut. Here, in the warmth and darkness, life grows patiently. Your digestive system is not an empty tube. It is a living landscape. Soft walls fold and unfold like hills at night, increasing surface area, creating shelter. Along these surfaces, trillions of microbes gather, forming layered communities that resemble a forest floor more than a machine. This is where diversity matters most. You can imagine it as a garden tended not by hands, but by conditions. Moisture, temperature, movement. Food drifting through like slow rain. Some microbes thrive near the entrance, where oxygen still lingers. Others wait farther along, preferring deeper darkness, where oxygen disappears and fermentation begins. Each section supports different species, each adapted to its own microclimate. No single microbe does all the work. Instead, they pass materials from one to another, breaking complex foods into simpler pieces, step by step. What one cannot finish, another completes. Energy moves through the system like sunlight through leaves. When you eat plants rich in fiber, something quiet and important happens. Your own cells cannot digest these fibers. They pass through untouched, until microbes recognize them as nourishment. They gather, metabolize, and transform fiber into molecules your body can use. These byproducts feed the cells lining your gut, strengthening the barrier between inside and outside. A well-nourished lining remains flexible, selective, calm. It allows nutrients in and keeps irritants out. This process is slow. It cannot be rushed. And it depends on variety. In gardens with only one crop, soil depletes quickly. Pests spread easily. Resilience fades. The same is true inside you. A diverse microbiome creates stability. Different species respond differently to stress. If one population struggles, another can compensate. Balance emerges not from sameness, but from layered difference. Your gut microbes also help regulate inflammation. They produce signals that tell immune cells when to remain relaxed and when to become alert. Too little diversity, and the immune system may overreact. Too much sameness, and flexibility is lost. This does not happen suddenly. Imbalance builds gradually, like soil eroding grain by grain. As you rest, digestion slows, but microbial life continues. Night is an active time in the gut. Repair processes increase. Microbes reorganize, shifting populations in response to what arrived during the day. They remember patterns. Repeated meals encourage certain species. Long-term habits shape the garden more than any single choice. This is why nourishment is not only about what you eat, but how consistently you eat it. The microbiome prefers rhythm over intensity, regularity over extremes. Water matters. Movement matters. Stress matters. When stress hormones rise, gut motility changes. Blood flow shifts. Microbial communities sense this and adjust. Some species shrink back. Others expand. This does not mean stress is failure. It means the gut listens closely to the nervous system. Your gut and brain are connected by a dense network of nerves, often called the gut-brain axis. Signals travel both ways. What you feel affects digestion. What happens in digestion affects how you feel. This communication is chemical, electrical, and microbial. Microbes produce metabolites that influence nerve signaling. The nervous system alters the gut environment, changing which microbes thrive. You are not separate from this loop. You are part of it. In this garden, rest is a form of care. Sleep allows repair. It stabilizes hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. It gives microbial populations time to settle. Rushing disrupts the soil. Modern life often compresses eating into hurried moments. Quick bites. Irregular timing. Little attention. The gut adapts, but adaptation has limits. Still, the garden is resilient. Even after disruption, diversity can return if conditions support it. Microbes reproduce quickly. Given time and variety, ecosystems rebuild. This is why the gut is often described as trainable rather than fixed. It responds to what repeats. Fermented foods introduce living microbes that can temporarily join the community. Some stay. Many pass through, interacting briefly, influencing balance without permanent residence. Their presence can encourage existing species, like visitors bringing new ideas to an old town. Plant diversity matters more than perfection. Different fibers feed different microbes. Color, texture, structure all contribute. The gut does not want restriction. It wants range. As you lie quietly, your gut garden works without effort from you. Muscles contract gently. Secretions flow. Microbes metabolize. There is no need to imagine control here. Only cooperation. When digestion feels uncomfortable, it is often a signal, not a failure. A request for adjustment, not punishment. The gut communicates through sensation when balance shifts. Listening is part of care. Over time, a diverse gut ecosystem supports energy, immunity, and even mental clarity. Not dramatically. Subtly. Like good soil supporting a tree without drawing attention to itself. You may not feel this support directly. You notice its absence more than its presence. Tonight, you simply acknowledge the garden. The unseen labor. The quiet exchange. Soon, you will explore why diversity itself feels like strength not only in the gut, but in every living system. For now, you rest with the image of soil enriched by many roots, preparing you to understand how cooperation becomes resilience. You remain with the image of the garden, soil resting under layers of life. Now, slowly, your attention widens. The lesson carried by that hidden landscape begins to echo outward, into every living system you know. Strength, you realize, is rarely loud. It does not announce itself with rigid certainty or sharp edges. True strength tends to feel flexible, adaptive, and quietly prepared. In nature, variety is what allows life to continue when conditions change. A forest made of one tree species may grow quickly, but it falls easily. A forest of many kinds bends, sheds, regrows, and survives. Your microbiome follows the same logic. Inside you, thousands of microbial species coexist, each with different tolerances and talents. Some endure heat well. Others adapt quickly to scarcity. Some specialize in breaking down complex fibers. Others focus on calming inflammation or shaping immune responses. No single species holds all the skills. Resilience emerges from the collective. You can imagine this as an orchestra warming up in the dark. Each instrument has a different tone, range, and role. A violin alone can carry a melody, but it cannot fill the space. Only together do the sounds deepen, soften, and balance one another. In your body, diversity creates this kind of harmony. When one microbial group falters, another often steps forward. When conditions shift, not everything shifts at once. This staggered response prevents collapse. Science describes this as redundancy, but the word feels too mechanical. It is closer to mutual support. A safety net woven from difference. Your immune system relies on this diversity. A varied microbiome teaches immune cells restraint. Repeated exposure to many harmless signals trains them to tolerate complexity without panic. Without this training, the immune system can become reactive, responding too strongly to minor disturbances. Allergies, chronic inflammation, and autoimmune responses often appear alongside reduced microbial diversity. This does not mean diversity guarantees health. It means it creates flexibility. And flexibility is often what allows healing. Variety also stabilizes metabolism. Different microbes extract different nutrients from food. Together, they smooth out fluctuations, preventing sharp spikes and crashes. When diversity narrows, the system becomes sensitive. Small changes produce large reactions. Stability fades. This is why sameness, though efficient, carries risk. Modern life often rewards uniformity. Standardized schedules. Repeated foods. Controlled environments. Predictability feels safe. But biology thrives on variation within rhythm, not monotony. Your body does not need constant novelty. It needs gentle range. Small differences repeated over time. Diversity allows recovery after disturbance. Illness, stress, antibiotics, travel, these events temporarily disrupt balance. A diverse system rebounds more easily because some members are always prepared for the new conditions. You see this pattern everywhere once you begin looking. In ecosystems. In cultures. In minds. Rigid systems break under pressure. Adaptive systems adjust. Your microbiome does not aim for perfection. It aims for survivability. This understanding softens the idea of health. Health is no longer an ideal state to reach and maintain forever. It becomes a process ongoing, responsive, alive. Variation does not mean chaos. It means choice. Within your gut, microbes constantly negotiate resources. They compete gently, share metabolites, and respond to feedback. No central authority directs them. Order emerges through interaction. This decentralized balance allows the system to function even when parts are disturbed. There is no single point of failure. Your body mirrors this structure. No single organ works alone. No single signal defines wellness. Health arises from coordination across many systems. When diversity fades, cooperation weakens. The system becomes brittle. You may notice how this applies emotionally as well. A mind with only one coping strategy struggles when conditions change. A mind with many ways of responding adapts. Biology and psychology often reflect one another. Inside you, microbial diversity supports neurotransmitter balance. It influences how stress signals are processed and how quickly calm returns. This does not dictate emotion, but it shapes the landscape in which emotion unfolds. Again, not control. Context. Diversity creates options. This is why extreme restriction often backfires. Whether in diet, lifestyle, or thought, narrow systems lack resilience. They work until they don't. Your microbiome prefers nourishment that arrives in many forms. Different fibers. Different textures. Different rhythms. It prefers a host who rests sometimes, exerts sometimes, adapts often. This does not require constant effort. It requires patience. As you lie here, you may feel relief in this idea. You are not expected to be consistent in every detail. You are expected to be human, variable, responsive, imperfect. Your body is built for that. Strength, then, is not hardness. It is responsiveness. The ability to bend without breaking. The microbial communities within you practice this constantly. They adjust population sizes. They change gene expression. They trade resources. They do not cling to fixed identities. They respond to conditions as they are. This fluidity supports you quietly, every day. Soon, you will drift backward in time, toward the earliest moments when this diversity first takes root. Moments when the foundation of your inner ecosystem is gently laid. For now, you rest with the understanding that strength lives in difference, and that within you, cooperation is already at work, preparing the ground for beginnings yet to be remembered. You begin to drift backward now, not through memory, but through biology. Past habits, past routines, past choices. You move toward a time before intention, before control, before awareness itself. You return to the beginning. Long before you formed your first clear thought, your body was already meeting the world. Skin touching skin. Air filling lungs for the first time. Warmth replacing the steady quiet of before. In those earliest moments, your microbiome begins to form. This happens without ceremony, without instruction, without effort on your part. As you are born, microbes arrive from the environment around you, from the people who hold you, from the air, from the surfaces you touch. They settle gently, sensing temperature, moisture, chemistry. Your body is new terrain, open and receptive. The first settlers matter. Early microbial exposure helps shape the immune system while it is still learning what the world is like. What is dangerous? What is familiar? What belongs? Your immune cells are inexperienced at first. They observe more than they react. Repeated contact with harmless microbes teaches tolerance. Absence teaches suspicion. This learning does not happen through words or concepts. It happens through repetition, through peaceful coexistence. Feeding deepens this process. Human milk carries not only nutrients, but complex sugars designed specifically to feed microbes. Not you directly, but the life that lives within you. These sugars pass through your digestion untouched until microbes recognize them as nourishment. In return, those microbes produce compounds that support gut development and immune balance. It is a quiet exchange, invisible, yet foundational. Touch matters too. Skin-to-skin contact transfers microbes from caregiver to child. Warmth and closeness create microbial continuity, linking one body to another. This is biology expressing connection. As infancy unfolds, the microbiome diversifies rapidly. New foods introduce new species. New environments expand the microbial library. Crawling, touching, tasting all contribute. The body is not passive in this process. It selects. Some microbes thrive. Others pass through without settling. By early childhood, a more stable ecosystem begins to form. Not finished, but recognizable. These early patterns echo forward. Studies show that early microbial diversity influences immune resilience later in life. It shapes how the body responds to allergens, infections, and inflammation. Not deterministically, but directionally. Beginnings do not decide everything, but they set tendencies. This understanding can feel heavy at first, as if the past has too much power. But biology is more forgiving than that. Early life sets the soil. Later life continues the planting. The microbiome remains adaptable throughout adulthood. Change becomes slower, not impossible. Patterns matter more than moments. Still, the imprint of early connection remains written softly into the system. This is why warmth matters. Why safety matters. Why consistency matters. The body learns what kind of world it inhabits by how it is treated early on. A world of contact or distance. Of nourishment or scarcity. Of rhythm or chaos. These lessons are not conscious. They live in immune thresholds, hormonal responses, microbial balance. You may feel this now as a subtle sense of recognition. That your body remembers things you do not. This memory is not narrative. It is embodied. It lives in how quickly your nervous system settles. In how your digestion responds to stress. In how your immune system distinguishes threat from background noise. There is no judgment here. Only information. Understanding this can invite compassion. Toward yourself. Toward others. No two bodies begin in the same way. No two microbiomes form under identical conditions. Variation is expected. This is why comparison rarely helps. Your internal ecosystem reflects a unique history of contact, care, and environment. As you lie here, you may sense how deeply relational health truly is. How much depends not on control, but on connection. The first settlers of your microbiome arrive through relationship with caregivers, with environment, with place. They form a biological memory of belonging. Even now, your body responds to signals of safety. Gentle touch, regular rhythms, rest. These signals echo the earliest conditions under which your microbiome learned to thrive. This is not about returning to the past. It is about recognizing continuity. Beginnings never truly end. They are carried forward, reshaped, softened, updated. Your body is not fixed in infancy. It is influenced by it. As sleep approaches, you rest with this understanding that health is not built in isolation, but in relationship, beginning from the very first breath. And as you drift deeper, you may begin to wonder how daily nourishment continues this conversation, how food itself becomes a message whispered to the life within you. You arrive now at something familiar, something you touch every day without much thought. Food. Not as numbers or rules or plans, but as presence. As matter moving slowly into the body, carrying information with it. Here, nourishment is not a command shouted into the system. It is a whisper. When you eat, you are not only feeding yourself. You are sending signals into the inner ecosystem you carry. Messages written in texture, structure, and timing. The microbiome listens carefully. Food arrives in waves. Some parts are absorbed quickly, sugars, simple starches, amino acids slipping into the bloodstream. Others travel farther, intact, patient. Fiber moves like a slow current, unchanged until it reaches the deeper gut. This is where the whisper becomes clear. Fiber is not fuel for your own cells. It is an offering to the microbes. A sign that variety is welcome. That time is allowed. Microbes gather around these fibers, each species equipped with different tools to break different shapes apart. Some prefer long, tangled strands. Others favor compact clusters. No single microbe can digest everything. Together, they work in sequence, passing partially broken pieces from one to another. What emerges is not waste, but transformation. From this process come short-chain fatty acids, small molecules that nourish the cells lining your gut. They strengthen the barrier between inside and outside. They help regulate inflammation. They send calming signals throughout the body. This happens slowly, quietly, without drama. Highly processed foods speak differently. They arrive already broken down, offering little for microbes to do. Energy floods the system quickly, then disappears just as fast. Some microbial populations surge. Others shrink. This is not moral. It is mechanical. The ecosystem responds to what it receives. Fermented foods carry living microbes with them. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi each introduces visitors into the gut. Most do not stay permanently. But their presence matters. They interact with resident microbes. They shift conditions slightly. They remind the ecosystem of possibility. Think of them as travelers passing through a town, sharing stories, trading ideas, leaving subtle changes behind. Food variety increases microbial variety not instantly, but over time. Repeated exposure matters more than novelty. The microbiome listens for patterns. One salad does not reshape the system. One indulgent meal does not ruin it. What repeats becomes influential. This makes nourishment feel less fragile. Your gut does not expect perfection. It expects rhythm. Timing matters as much as content. Regular meals create predictable cycles of activity and rest. Irregular eating creates uncertainty. Microbes adapt, but stability allows diversity to flourish. When resources arrive predictably, more species can coexist. When supply feels chaotic, competition intensifies. Hydration plays a role too. Water softens movement, supports mucus layers that protect gut walls. These layers create habitats where microbes can live without irritation. Even chewing matters. Breaking food down mechanically changes how nutrients reach the gut. Slower eating sends signals of safety to the nervous system, which in turn affects digestion. This is not about mindfulness as a rule. It is about physiology responding to pace. Stress alters how food is processed. When stress hormones rise, digestion deprioritizes. Blood flow shifts away from the gut. Microbial environments change. Food eaten in tension carries a different message than food eaten in calm. Again, this is not blame. It is biology responding to context. Your microbiome interprets food alongside hormonal signals, nervous system tone, and prior experience. The same meal can be received differently on different days. This complexity explains why rigid diets often disappoint. Bodies are not static machines. They are living systems responding to many inputs at once. The microbiome does not want extremes. It thrives on gentle diversity. Different plants across days. Different fibers across weeks. Color often reflects chemical diversity. Deep greens, reds, yellows each carries different compounds that feed different microbes. No single food feeds them all. Restriction narrows the conversation. Variety expands it. This does not mean everything must be included. It means curiosity matters more than control. When food becomes a whisper, the body listens more clearly. Signals integrate smoothly. Responses soften. You may notice how this changes your relationship with eating. Less urgency. Less judgment. More continuity. The microbiome responds slowly. Changes accumulate over weeks, not hours. This slowness protects against overreaction. Even after disruption, illness, antibiotics, stress, nourishment can support recovery. Fiber, variety, and time allow ecosystems to rebuild. The gut remembers abundance more easily than scarcity. As night deepens, digestion quiets. Microbial activity shifts. Some species rest. Others take over. Food eaten earlier continues its journey. Signals continue to ripple. You do not need to monitor this. Your body handles it. Tonight, nourishment is no longer a task. It is a dialogue already underway. And as you drift towards sleep, you may begin to sense how other daily experiences, stress, rest, emotion, also feed this inner ecosystem, sometimes more powerfully than food itself. That thought lingers softly, preparing you to notice how sleep and stress shape the unseen world within you. You settle deeper into the night, and attention moves away from food and into feeling. Not emotion as story, but emotion as signal. as chemistry, as tone. Inside your body, stress and rest are not abstract ideas. They are measurable shifts, changes in hormones, nerve activity, blood flow. And your microbiome notices all of them. Stress begins in the nervous system. A tightening. A subtle alert. Muscles prepare. Breath shortens. The body leans forward, even if you remain still. This response evolved to protect you. Brief stress sharpens focus and mobilizes energy. But when stress lingers, it changes the internal environment. Stress hormones like cortisol influence digestion almost immediately. Gut movement slows or becomes irregular. Blood flow shifts away from the digestive tract. The chemical landscape microbes rely on begins to change. Some species adapt easily. Others struggle. This does not happen dramatically. It unfolds quietly, over hours and days. Microbial population shifts slightly, then slightly more. Diversity narrows not from crisis, but from pressure. You might feel this as subtle discomfort. Changes in appetite. Restlessness at night. A sense that your body is less settled than usual. The microbiome does not create stress. It responds to it. At the same time, microbes influence how stress is processed. They produce compounds that interact with the vagus nerve, a major communication pathway between gut and brain. Signals travel upward, shaping mood, sensitivity, and recovery speed. This is not control. It is conversation. A balanced microbiome tends to support faster return to calm. A disrupted one may prolong the stress response, making it harder to settle. Sleep is where this conversation softens. When you sleep, the nervous system shifts from alertness to repair. Heart rate slows. Breath deepens. Hormonal rhythms change. This shift alters the gut environment almost immediately. Blood flow returns. Inflammation decreases. Microbial habitats stabilize. Nighttime is a period of recalibration. During sleep, the body repairs the gut lining, tightening connections between cells. This strengthens the barrier that keeps irritation out and calm within. Microbes benefit from this stability. Sleep also regulates hormones that influence hunger and fullness. When sleep is short or fragmented, these signals distort. Cravings intensify. Regular rhythms break. The microbiome responds again, adjusting to new patterns of intake and timing. This is why chronic sleep disruption affects digestion, immunity, and mood simultaneously. Not because one system fails, but because many systems drift out of sync together. You can imagine the nervous system and microbiome as dance partners. When one rushes, the other stumbles. When one slows, the other finds its footing. Rest is coordination. Importantly, stress is not only psychological. It includes physical strain, illness, inflammation, noise, and unpredictability. The body does not distinguish neatly between types of stress. It responds to total load. You move gently now into quieter territory. Not darker, but thinner. A place where voices soften, where variety narrows, where the ecosystem grows simpler. This is not a story of failure. It is a story of pressure. Inside your body, Diversity does not disappear suddenly. It fades gradually, like a meadow walked over too often without time to regrow. One step alone changes little. Repeated steps leave a trace. Microbial diversity fades when conditions favor sameness. When resources become limited. When rhythms grow erratic. When disruption arrives faster than recovery. Antibiotics are one clear example. They are powerful tools, often life-saving. They do not distinguish carefully between harmful microbes and helpful ones. They act broadly, clearing space quickly. Afterward, the ecosystem must rebuild. Some species return easily. Others struggle to reclaim their place. Timing matters. Context matters. What arrives first often shapes what follows. This does not mean antibiotics are mistakes. It means they carry ecological consequences, like storms clearing a forest. Damage is not the only outcome. Change is. But antibiotics are not the only force that thins diversity. Highly processed diets reduce the range of nutrients available to microbes. Low fiber limits fuel for many species. Monotony favors specialists while generalists fade. Chronic stress alters gut conditions repeatedly. Sleep disruption shortens recovery windows. Speed replaces rhythm. Over time, fewer species dominate. Efficiency increases. Flexibility decreases. This shift can feel subtle at first. Digestion becomes less forgiving. Immune responses grow sharper. Energy fluctuates more dramatically. You may not connect these experiences to microbial diversity, but the body feels the difference. A simplified ecosystem responds strongly to small disturbances. There are fewer buffers. Fewer alternative pathways. This is why imbalance often feels like sensitivity. Foods once tolerated become irritating. Stress lingers longer. Recovery slows. Again, this is not judgment. It is pattern. Importantly, loss of diversity does not mean loss of function. The body continues to work. Life continues. But resilience softens. Science often uses the word dysbiosis to describe microbial imbalance. The word sounds severe, but it simply means a shift away from diversity and cooperation toward dominance and limitation. Dysbiosis is not a diagnosis. It is a description of a state. States can change. The microbiome is remarkably adaptive. Even after significant disruption, new communities form. They may not be identical to what came before, but they can still support health. Recovery is not reversal. It is reorganization. You drift now into a space of imagination and care. Not fantasy, but possibility. A vision of what can happen when attention and patience meet the ecosystem within. Rewilding begins slowly. In nature, rewilding a forest involves letting processes unfold without interference, introducing variety, and allowing the land to heal over time. The same principle applies to the inner landscape of your body. Your gut is a forest of living organisms. Some areas are dense with species. Others are quiet, subdued, recovering from past disturbances. Some populations linger near the edges, waiting for conditions to feel safe again. Introducing diversity is not about force. It is about invitation. You imagine meals not as rules, but as planting seeds. Different colors, textures, and flavors act like gentle sunlight on soil. fibers, polyphenol, and natural compounds offer nourishment to different microbial species. Each bite becomes a signal: come, there is space here. Come, you are welcome. Variety matters more than perfection. A single colorful meal cannot do everything. But repeated exposure creates rhythm, building the conditions where diversity can flourish. Movement through your day acts like water through soil. Gentle exercise stimulates circulation, helping nutrients and microbes travel. It moves the landscape without forcing any single species to dominate. Slow walks, stretching, breathing, these are the streams that sustain life quietly. Nature outside mirrors nature inside. Time spent in green spaces exposes you to microbes not common indoors. Dirt, leaves, and air carry new species. Contact is subtle, fleeting, but meaningful. It is a reminder that your inner ecosystem is part of a larger world, not isolated. Patience is essential. Just as a forest does not regrow overnight, microbial diversity returns gradually. Some species arrive quickly. Others take weeks, months, or even years to establish. All require repeated signals that conditions are safe and stable. You notice how this mirrors human growth. Change is rarely instantaneous. Healing unfolds in layers. Resilience builds slowly, sometimes imperceptibly. Sleep supports this process. During rest, the body repairs tissue, stabilizes hormones, and provides quiet space for microbial communities to reorganize. Patterns of deep sleep signal stability, giving species confidence to settle and thrive. Stress management acts like tending the soil. When the body is calm, blood flow, temperature, and hormone levels create hospitable conditions. Diversity expands under gentle, predictable rhythms. You imagine the gut as a quiet garden at night. Some microbes rest, while others perform subtle repairs. Layers of activity occur out of sight, unseen, but not unfelt. The ecosystem adjusts continuously, responding to signals from meals, movement, sleep, and mood. Even emotions shape this landscape. Moments of safety and connection ripple through the nervous system. They alter hormone levels, circulation, and chemical signaling. Microbes notice these changes. They respond. Healing is cooperative. You do not act alone. Your microbes participate, adjusting to the rhythms you provide. Rewilding is not about perfection. It is about opportunity. Creating space for variety. Inviting life to return. Allowing the ecosystem to become complex once more. You may imagine introducing new species through fermented foods, diverse plant fibers, and exposure to natural environments. Each encounter expands the network, even slightly. Even tiny changes accumulate over time. Your body remembers past abundance. This memory guides recolonization. Communities reorganize to reflect potential, not just current conditions. Patience teaches trust. The ecosystem does not rush. It cannot. It adapts within the pace that life allows. Sometimes, the landscape resists. Some species fail to establish. Some areas remain thin. But even partial recovery improves resilience. This is true inside and outside your body. Healing is rarely absolute. It is relational. You notice how this principle echoes in your own life. Patience, gentle attention, and repetition foster balance, just as they do for microbes. Time, rhythm, and care are essential. Not quick fixes. not extreme measures. Just steady, repeated signals that life is welcome. The analogy of a forest is comforting. Fallen leaves decompose. Roots support one another. Seeds wait quietly for conditions to suit them. Water and sunlight encourage growth. Change is constant, but gentle. Your inner forest works the same way. Microbes exchange metabolites. Chemical signals rise and fall. Populations adjust. Diversity increases or decreases according to rhythm, nourishment, and care. This is why balance feels like resilience. It is not rigidity. It is adaptive, responsive, and enduring. You notice how the idea of rewilding extends to daily habits. Varied movement, diverse meals, exposure to nature, and periods of rest all act like tending the soil. Every gentle action supports unseen life. Even small interventions ripple outward. Adding one new type of vegetable. Taking a quiet walk outdoors. Going to bed 15 minutes earlier. Each signal encourages expansion, coordination, and thriving. Recovery is gradual. Celebrate small changes. Notice subtle shifts. Microbial activity, digestive comfort, energy, mood. These signals rise quietly before awareness catches up. You are not separate from this ecosystem. You participate. You set the pace. You invite life back in. And because this inner rewilding is reflective, it mirrors the world beyond. As you nurture your body, you notice patterns in life, relationships, and daily experience. Harmony arises through patience and repetition. There is no rush. There is no perfect endpoint. Rewilding is continuous. And yet, even in its slowness, the process carries hope. Diversity, once diminished, can increase again. Balance, once disturbed, can return. Healing feels gradual, patient, and deeply human. Soon, you will settle fully into the understanding that your body, your microbiome, and your life are intertwined. Wellness is not a solo pursuit. It is a collaboration. For now, you rest with the image of a garden regrowing. Microbes rediscover niches. Species re-establish. The inner landscape awakens, softly, patiently, preparing you for the next understanding that you live not alone, but as a complex, interdependent ecosystem. You arrive now at a place of quiet comprehension. A place where all the lessons of your inner universe converge. Diversity, rhythm, patience, nourishment, rest each has contributed to the ecosystem you carry within yourself. And here, finally, you feel what it means to live as an ecosystem. Your body is not a solitary machine. It is a collaboration of countless species, a community that has evolved over millions of years, each member performing tasks beyond your perception. Cells, microbes, hormones, nerves, and fluids, they all communicate silently, continuously, responding to shifts in the internal and external environment. This network is not hierarchical. There is no central commander. Balance arises from relationships, from interaction, from the gentle negotiation of presence and absence. When one system falters, another adjusts. When one species grows too dominant, another steps in, reminding the system that cooperation is stronger than control. You, as a conscious human, participate in this dynamic. Your attention, your choices, your rhythms, your rest all influence the ecosystem you inhabit. And yet, the ecosystem also influences you. It shapes digestion, immunity, mood, energy, and recovery. It teaches you that wellness is not achieved through domination, but through responsiveness and connection. Take a slow breath and feel the air entering your lungs. With that inhale, oxygen travels through your bloodstream, feeding cells, signaling neurons, and supporting microbial inhabitants. Every exhale carries carbon dioxide, metabolic byproducts, and subtle chemical signals. Even your breathing is an exchange, a gentle rhythm shared among countless lives. The microbiome, once invisible, now feels like an intimate companion. Species you cannot see help maintain balance, protect against harmful invaders, and communicate with your immune system. They respond to signals from stress, sleep, and diet, adjusting their populations with patience and precision. Your gut, skin, oral cavity, and other microbial habitats are not separate territories, they are connected through chemical and neural pathways. Signals travel between them. Information flows constantly. You are both a home and a host, a participant in a dialogue that never ceases. This interdependence extends beyond your body. Exposure to natural environments, relationships with others, and daily routines influence internal ecosystems. Every interaction is part of a larger network. Your inner world mirrors the world outside, and vice versa. You notice now that every small act contributes to collective wellness. Hydrating slowly, chewing mindfully, walking through nature, practicing gentle rest, each action supports many unseen lives. Even quiet attention matters. Calm and presence ripple through the ecosystem, signaling safety and encouraging resilience. Sleep deepens this collaboration. During rest, your nervous system lowers its vigilance. Hormonal cycles recalibrate. Repair mechanisms activate. Microbial communities reorganize, populations shift, and balance is reinforced. As your body settles into sleep, you are not alone. You move together with trillions of invisible companions. You breathe together. You digest together. You heal together. This awareness transforms the idea of wellness. It is no longer an individual pursuit. Wellness is relational. It is shared. It is collective. Each system supports another. Your liver metabolizes, feeding cells and microbes. Your immune system regulates, guided by microbial cues. Your brain processes, influenced by chemical and microbial signals. Your gut produces compounds that calm nerves. Every function exists in conversation, a network of silent collaboration. You rest more fully with this realization. No single point determines health. No single action guarantees it. Strength emerges from the relationships among systems and species, from consistent care and responsiveness over time. You notice gratitude emerging naturally, not as thought, but as sensation. For the microbes who live with you. For the cells that tirelessly repair and regenerate. For your heart, lungs, and digestive tract that carry out their tasks with quiet efficiency. For the rhythms of breath and heartbeat that knit together life inside you. You can feel compassion extending inward. Mistakes, irregularity, stress, or lapses do not threaten this system irreparably. It is resilient, adaptive, and forgiving. It responds to repeated signals of care rather than sudden perfection. This ecosystem perspective also invites curiosity. Every meal, every walk, every period of rest, and even every thought becomes a form of dialogue. You are learning, adjusting, and listening. And so are the lives within you. Consider the microbiome once more. Trillions of microbes, each with unique capabilities, thrive in the spaces you provide. They support digestion, train your immune system, synthesize nutrients, and influence mood. When you nourish them gently, allow rest, and maintain rhythm, they flourish. When you neglect these signals, populations shift, sometimes temporarily, sometimes more persistently. Balance is dynamic, not fixed. It is a living dance. You may now imagine the body as a city with millions of neighborhoods. Some are bustling, some are quiet. Some populations grow and shrink with seasons, meals, and moods. Traffic flows. Signals transmit. Adjustments occur constantly. You are not a single actor in this city, you are part of the infrastructure, the observer, and a participant in the ongoing dialogue. This is the final chapter of a journey, yet it is also the beginning of daily practice. You do not need to master this ecosystem fully. You only need to remain attentive, patient, and responsive. Your body will continue the work alongside you. As you drift further into sleep, notice how strength arises naturally from connection, from cooperation, from the recognition that your wellness is shared, not imposed. The rhythm of life within you is mirrored by the rhythm of life around you. You are a participant in both, a network of living systems in constant, gentle exchange. And in this state of awareness, your breathing slows further. Heartbeat softens. Muscles relax. The inner ecosystem hums quietly, balanced, resilient, and ready to greet another day. You rest fully, not as a single being, but as many, moving together in harmony, knowing that every small act of care ripples through the unseen world within you, preparing you, always, for renewal.